Speaking to Mark Walters of Armed American Radio, and we've been picking apart this column, Do Black Americans Have the Right to Bear Arms, written by Inez Santos, who is apparently an intern for the ACLU. And the ACLU's argument is that the claiming that racism is the ACLU is claiming that racism is foundational to the Second Amendment and its inclusion in the Bill of Rights. Mark, I got to go back to this line that this Inez Santos said.
Yeah.
She says, throughout the history of this country, the rhetoric of gun rights has been selectively manipulated and utilized to inflame white racial anxiety and to frame blackness as an inherent threat. Let me tell you why I believe this is stupid. Just go back to these three words, Bill of Rights. It's amazing to me that people will go back so far in time to trying to frame whites as racist, whatever they can do to, frame whites as racist, compare white racist, from back in the day to people that are not racist today. But I look at this and I'm like, so blackness, these white racial anxiety and a frame blackness as an inherent threat or whatever she says. And I'm like, so blacks don't have the right to self-defense? Do blacks have a natural right to self-defense? When she talks about guns, it's almost as if whites are the only people that want guns and blacks don't have the right to guns, or blacks shouldn't want guns. But I think this is what lefties do. They leave out the Bill of Rights. They leave out our God-ordained rights, and they leave out just natural rights, the law of self-defense. I was watching a video the other day, Mark, and I typically don't watch videos like this, to be honest with you, because I just don't like them. But anyway, it was a kid that was being murdered right on Instagram. He was shot to death while he was on Instagram talking to a friend, laughing, chucking it up. And the next thing you know, within seconds, somebody just walks up to his car, blows the guy away. But his natural instinct, because that's inherent from God, his natural instinct was to throw his hands up, kind of a self-defense mechanism. And I'm like, right. Imagine if he had a weapon to be able to defend himself. This is what people don't get. All human beings have a right to self-defense. All human beings have a right to self-defense. This is inherent in human nature. And what these lefties do is they're trying to reach back into their bag of tricks to find something somewhere that they can redefine, again, that fits their new narrative. Now, I want to point out, every black American I know carries a gun, and I know a lot of them. I've never met anybody that's had a problem buying a handgun. I walk into any gun shop. I go to every convention. It's filled with all people of all walks of life. All Americans have a right to bear arms. This individual probably doesn't know that black Americans and females of any color are the number one right now buying guns at a faster rate than any other American. They all have a right to sell. Why? Because the cities that they're living in, controlled by Democrats, are imploding. Violent crime is on the rise at a historic pace in these Democrat-run cities. And fortunately, that fact is getting out there. Now, the mainstream press tries to hide it. They don't like to talk about it. They don't put Democrat in front of it. We'll do it for them. And let me reach back into my bag of tricks. I mentioned the public gathering law in the state of Georgia that was 140 years old. That law was put into place by white Southern Democrats that were trying to keep blacks disarmed after they were freed during Reconstruction. And it took a majority white Republican legislature in the state of Georgia to wipe those racist gun control laws off the books. Carl, I could go on and on and on. And I could go into every Democrat city. I could give number after number after number. Chicago, easy. 70 shootings, 12 murders in Chicago just past weekend alone. The previous weekend, 56. 120-some people shot in Chicago. Mayor Lori Lightfoot has the audacity to stand up in front of a camera day after day after day and deny that it's even happening. I don't know how these people look at a camera. I simply don't know how they do it. But they do. We have the Democrat who was just recently found to have spent $70,000 in St. Louis or Missouri. Democrat, let me point this out. For her own personal protective detail, armed. Right.
While screaming for defunding the police. And when you get out of this gaslighting narrative of this lying, hateful, treasonous mainstream press in the bag of the Progressive Democrat Party, the Socialist Party, the Marxist un-Americans, when you get out of that bubble and you talk to people on the streets, it is those individuals in the poorer neighborhoods that are screaming for more cops, are screaming for guns to defend themselves from this cesspool that they've been tossed into over all these years. And I want to point out again, when I say Democrat-run cities, Chicago hasn't had a Republican, I couldn't tell you how long, been Democrat-controlled for over 100 years.
Yeah, Baltimore, Chicago, you name them. Camden, New Jersey, you name them. City after
Atlanta,
city after city. It's unreal. And you know what it is? It's this narrative, Mark, because, listen, I lived in the hood, and you get this narrative constantly. You're bombarded with the narrative, guns are bad, guns are bad, guns are bad. Yeah. And I bought into it. The difference is, all right, when you're on the streets, you got to protect yourself. You know, you can hear this nonsense all day long from politicians, but when you're walking down certain streets, whether you're in Compton, Linwood, Long Beach, California, wherever it may be, you know different gang territories, and you know what? You not only do you have to racially profile, I say racial profiling sometimes can be good for your health. Not only do you have to racially profile when you, or at least I did when I was going through different areas and neighborhoods, sometimes you felt like you needed to be strapped. And it's like you knew guns were bad, but they weren't. But in our circumstance, they were, right? Then I moved to Florida. And then I'm seeing shotguns and all in the back of pickup trucks. And Mark, I was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die here. I left L.A. to save my life, and I'm going to die right here in Orlando, Florida. But the attitude is different. Because people that love the Second Amendment, it is about self-defense. It is about making sure that there's that defense against a tyrannical government. And for fun, they may hunt as well. But let's never forget what it's really about, and it's the threat of a tyrannical government. I want to, if you can stay on the line with me, Mark, I still want to go through some of these black codes because I haven't gotten there yet. So do you still, can you stick with me through the break? All right, we still have.
Hey, I'll give you the rest of the night off, and I'll host the show for you. Go for it. Take the night off.
I know you do it. I know you do it. But I want to make sure that we just knock this argument out of the box. Yes, this is complete and utter nonsense. Black people, you should be able to defend your life. Self-defense is a natural, God-given right. And a gun is just the best tool to do it. It's as simple as that.